And that causes what? An influence on your self-esteem. It can cause toxicity in you when you think that something or the relationship isn't what it is. We're moving on to the Yahbti Chakra, the solar plexus chakra, or the manipulative chakra with the planet Mars. Mars is associated with the East, associated with sunrise, that rebirth energy, that assertive energy is associated with fighting. It is called Seba Yapti or Seba Yati Chakra. It is also called Heru Desha, the red Heru, signifying the warrior, the fighter. But of course, the perspective of Mars in an African perspective has a little bit more of a nurturing quality, because what are you going to war? Who are you fighting for? It's usually fighting for the nation, fighting for the community. So you see this deep relationship between the moon and Mars in Kemetic astrology and African astrology, because you also see the same thing in the Bantu cosmology. You also see the same thing in the Akan cosmology. This deep relationship, and how that correlates with the chakras is a deep relationship between the manipulative chakra and the Ajna chakra, which you're not going to really hear about in modern spirituality. And that connection speaks more to wisdom governing martial activity. We see it in Taoism. We see a little bit of it in some of the yogic stories, but we see more of it in the Black ancestral traditions, where this concept of fighting and going to arms and defending something is always guided by wisdom, is always guided by cycles, is always guided by the elder. So one of the problems we hear from certain so-called gurus is they will say the manipulative chakra is the problem in the world. That is one of the negative qualities of the Yahbti chakra. It's delusion again. It's fear, it's sadness, it's jealousy, people trying to take other people's stuff. But in a holistic and balanced society, you would not be taking that action without wisdom. And so the ancients made sure that they paired that together. That's why in some system of the planetary chakra model in ancient times, you will see them place Jupiter at the manipulative chakra instead of Mars. You will see people place the sun. That's why they call it the solar plexus. They will place the sun at the manipulative chakra. And that thinking from a Black ancestral perspective is that the king, the leader, still has to answer to the ancestors, still has to answer to his advisors. There's always going to be some kind of guidance. And this idea of guidance gets messed up or gets perverted in the Indo-European and the Eurocentric perspective, because individuality is the highest value due to the history of being exploited. You look into the history of Europe, and feudalism is constant exploitation. That's why the seeds of America is built on asserting your rights, asserting your freedom. This is the chakra that is going to do that. Right? So that's why entrepreneurship is held as a high value in American society, which is entrepreneurship is going to be driven by this Yahbti chakra. Right? And it's held as something great so that you do not have to be exploited, right? In the concept of feudalism or the concept of capitalism, where once again, that is not going to happen in a Black ancestral tradition, because the concept of being exploited by others is not going to really be the case, or at least to this degree that we see it today. Things are going to be more focused on community and protecting those community assets. You're not going to see an exploitative model, because there's a value of human life and a value of people, the connection to the moon, the nurturing quality, right? To make it plain and see how this spiritual qualities manifest on earth, and the example that we gave in the last episode, right? What makes the Yahbti chakra assert itself, protect itself? Well, when Mars moves into Cancer, as it is now, the Seba transits into a sign, right? The Araba, the chakra, Yahbti, takes that energy signature, it processes it, and then sends that energy to the celiac plexus, sends that energy to the adrenal glands, sends that energy to the pancreas gland, right? One of the reasons why you see people who have strong Aries energy, right? This sustained effort and confidence, they just kind of like, they don't run out of energy. They keep pushing, is because of the insulin that is being produced from the pancreas in their body that is pushing that chakra. This is not just some mystical, abstract, esoteric thing. We will break that. We will cut that, because that is not what we do from a Black ancestral perspective. Let other people be dwelling in mysticism and all of this stuff, because the reality is, part of it is psychological and spiritual warfare. Keep you thinking that this thing is over here in the ethereal part, when even in your body is registering what is happening and acting, even if you don't know it, right? Whether you like it or not, when Mars is transited in Cancer, you're going to produce more adrenaline cortisol and assertiveness or anger regarding the situation, wherever that is in your chart. You're not going to get away from it. And when you listen to certain astrologers, right, in the Vedic tradition, they will tell you, Mars is transiting sign, you got to watch your anger. You got to do, this is one of the reasons why they, in the Vedic tradition, talk about having a vegetarian diet or a vegan diet to try to circumvent what they are calling anger. We don't do that here, right? Because we understand that meat eating is not separate from spirituality from a Black ancestral perspective. Check out our video on the Glad diet where my wife, Basra, goes deep into it. We understand that spirituality and eating meat are not separated, but we also understand that modern spirituality misinterprets the signals of Yati Chakra by always saying that it is anger, when it might just be a readiness to meet the confrontational force, a readiness to lay down the boundary, which is what the Yahbti energy is there for, to lay down the boundary. Don't misinterpret your energetic push to lay down a boundary with anger and then be guilt tripped over it, right? There are certain people who are sent here to lay down boundaries. The warriors, the spiritual police officers, right? The children of Sekumet, right? The children of Ma'ahes, the children of Heru Behudet, the children of Set, who are sent here to lay down those boundaries for protection. Right? Of course, that energy can go the wrong way. This is where you start getting into, the chakras being unbalanced. Different conversation, right? But many of us have to own that energy anyway, because in modern spirituality, you're guilt tripped into you're a bad person if you manifested this. No, the Mars is transiting my first house. My adrenal glands are pumping. I'm feeling great. I got to go off and fight. And you're telling me I'm a bad person? No, not according to Sekhmet. Not according to Heru Behudet, right? Not according to your destiny that you've been laid out to go lay that boundary and protect that person. Moving on to the heart chakra.